Hi everyone, welcome to the next show. We are going to talk about the most common side effect that we see when we are seeing patients on a regular basis. Myself in the hospital and Dr. Ben in primary care. Dr. Ben, most common side effect that you see from a medication?
Great question. So there's a few, but the most common I see is actually from the medication metoprolol. Metoprolol is a beta blocker. So you guys have probably heard of this medication. There are many different kinds of beta blockers, but they all cause very similar side effects, and it's fatigue and exhaustion. And I see it a lot. I have patients coming in that just say, hey, I'm just feeling down. I'm feeling exhausted. Sometimes they think they're depressed. And after a thorough workup, when we go through their medications, I say, hey, you're on a beta blocker. Let's see if there's any way we can cut that down. And often, if we cut it down or stop it, these symptoms magically go away. So it often is from these medications that we find this pretty awful side effect. I mean, it really affects people's lives.
Yeah, and that's a side effect that I've seen. Obviously, beta blockers are very commonly prescribed. Metoprolol in the United States is one of the most common. Would you say, Dr. Ben, that the side effect of lethargy and feeling weak, firstly, is it more common the older someone gets? And secondly, is it very dose dependent? Because you can have 12.5 of metoprolol or you can have 100 of metoprolol.
That's such a great question. I think it is not just seen in older people. It's really kind of across the board. I've actually seen it at very different age ranges. It's almost ubiquitous. I've seen it really throughout. It usually is dose dependent. If you go up too high, you almost definitely start to see these types of effects. Some people, unfortunately, are on so many medications, it's very unclear which one's causing it. But most of the time, it does end up being the beta blocker.
Got you. Okay. My turn then. Well, seeing patients in the hospital, the most common side effects, I see a lot of side effects, but the most common, I would say, is dehydration and low potassium with diuretic medications. Whether we're talking about hydrochlorothiazide, HCTZ, which is my least favorite blood pressure medication, especially as anybody gets older, or we're talking about furosemide, also known as Lasix, that's the most common one I see. And a very common scenario is people have been getting sick for a few days, they'll come into hospital, but they've continued taking their diuretic. So they come in and they'll be dehydrated, maybe their creatinine is a little bit elevated, and their potassium, which should be a bare minimum 3.5, is often 3.2, 3.1, 2.9, sometimes even lower as well. But I see that a lot, and obviously that is going to cause enormous problems.
Oh, huge problems. It can also throw off your sodium during that process, so your electrolytes, which are very important. The balance of your sodium in your body is absolutely vital, and when that gets thrown off, it can be an absolute disaster. It can cause confusion. It can make people very, very sick. Yeah, we see a ton of that. You have to be very, very careful with these medications. Now, we've talked about this in other videos, but as you know, the guidelines for blood pressure recently changed. So people are being very aggressive with these medications lately, trying to get the blood pressure lower and lower and lower. So I actually am seeing more and more side effects.
That is a tremendous shame, because a lot of these people are in more vulnerable groups as well. And they find it difficult to follow up with their doctors, find it difficult to even find good doctors, and then get put on these medications. And then it's like a life sentence, but that shouldn't be the way. Once anybody is on a medication at any age, there should be constant, regular surveillance. And I'm a proponent when somebody's on a diuretic medication should have regular checks of their renal function and their electrolytes, at least initially for the first few months while they're on it, because it gets thrown off so often. I know that you are a big proponent of that.
I couldn't agree more. I think not only doing that, but you know what else is missing is it's very rare that people have conversations about, hey, how do we get you off of this? How do we move to a place where we can start peeling your meds away? So what I often see is once people get put on these medications, like you said, it's a life sentence. They're stuck on them forever. No one ever reevaluates them, and the side effects start to pile on. So, there needs to be a constant reevaluation. Are you working with me? Are you doing the steps? Are we working on diet? Are we trying to lose weight? Are we exercising? Can we start talking about maybe coming off these? But that is sorely missing. I mean, I almost never see people doing that.
It is. I mean, I went to medical school with the image of a doctor being somebody you go to when you have a problem, you get a short prescription if needed, and then you come off. But the mantra has quickly changed to every other person being on a chronic disease medication now. I'm not saying they are never needed. It's a sea change in the way that we think in medicine, and it's very sad. So thank you everybody for watching. Those are our two most common side effects that we see. Of course, we could probably go on forever about other medications.
Indeed.
Statins come to mind.
Oh,
Lots of side effects we see. Official statistics, actually pretty bad as well for how many people report at least one side effect. And that's why you need to be very certain before you start a medication. Hopefully your doctor has talked to you about that, and know your own body. If your body is telling you something is wrong after you start a medication, then usually something is wrong. Would you agree with that?
couldn't agree more. And in my opinion, medications are not a life sentence. You're not supposed to be on them, with the exception of very, very few, forever. So always be thinking, what do I do? How do I get off of these things? And that should be a big conversation you're having with your doctor at every visit. I mean, that's what most of my visits are spent doing.
Yeah, that's because you're a good doctor,
Why,
Dr.
thank
Ben.
you, sir.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Keep well, stay informed, and do check in the links down below for our natural health and well-being store. Speaking of which, I just had a sip. Dr. Ben has it as well. Organic chai. Nice and relaxing there, especially after a day of seeing patients. But we enjoy our tea very much, don't we? So yes, do check in the links down below. ohighwellness.com if you're in the USA, North America. ohighwellness.co if you're in the UK, Europe. We'll speak in the next episode.